Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to Dungeonology, the Expedition. So this is video part 3 for the core set. So if you didn't watch them for some reason, part 1 is a general overview of the components and the rules. It is quite long, but if you really want to kind of have an idea of what all the cards and stuff do, you can definitely go check that out. Otherwise, I'm kind of re-explaining stuff a little bit as we go through as well. Then part 2, we went over the 4 main heroes of the game. We looked at their miniatures, we looked at the boss, the different modes, and the stuff like that, and what all the different points and stuff do there. So in this video, we're going to look at all the different tiles, and kind of see what the effects on there. We're going to look at our mini decks, such as interns and jinxes, as well as the big stack of magic cards, trick cards, rather. So you can go ahead and show that. So I'm not going to re-go an overview of the game. If you want to skip the video part 1, which is a big, giant, massive overview, you can check out video part 2, which is starting the actual full unboxing of the game. And I do go over a overview of what the game is in there. So in this one, we're just going to hop in. I'm assuming if you're watching, at least watch part 1 before you watch part 2. So we're going to look at our tiles first. So our tiles are going to have our starting tile here, which is our camp, which doesn't do anything extra special in there. It has 8 entryways, 2 on each side, entries or exits. This is where you'll come back to do your resting. Whether you get stunned too many times, you're forced back here, or you decide to choose to come back there. It is a safe zone. While you are in your rest area, you cannot be damaged. So you have lights in here. Cannot be considered by any effects of the game, chosen as a target, even by a boss. Considered for randomizations. Suffer effects of tricks. Cannot play trick cards. Scholars can transfer directly to the starting zone when submitting their thesis or performing a rest phase. So it's kind of neat though. If you need to rest or you need to do your thesis, you can just immediately teleport back. You don't have to spend time running all the way back over there. But as that's all the starting zone does. It doesn't do anything extra special for you. Do I have information on the rest step? Because that is kind of important. Yeah, here we go. So during the rest phase, when you do go back here, just as a reminder, transfer skill to the starting zone, remove all your stun tokens, discard 1 jinx card. So if you've amassed multiple, you have to do something. Discard any number of trick cards from your hand, draw trick cards until you have reached your value. So this is how you can kind of refresh your hand a bit. If you have less students than your student value, gain students from the bonfire. If there are not enough students in the bonfire, take them from the reserve, and then your turn ends immediately. So it is a nice way to refresh your hand back up, as well as regain more students, and get your stun tokens. Maybe you don't want to wait until you hit that final stun token, but it does cost you your full turn to do it. So that's the reason why they don't have you spend 3-4 turns moving there. Then all of the other zones, there are 6 tiles for each. We have a level 1, a level 2, and then a level 3, which is gold. So bronze, silver, and gold. So all of the different levels you're going to use when you're drawing. If you find a stairway, then you can move up to the next level and you can draw from the next pile. And then every time you explore from there, you connect the stuff from that level. It's just a way to keep the randomization so you don't have 25 different things randomizing. And they can make each level have a little bit more cubes. Maybe some of the harder to gain cubes. Maybe some more difficult challenges in there. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at these for right now. Now, they all have actual names. If I went in the book, I could look up what the names of each area are called. It's not that big of a deal for gameplay-wise, so I'm not going to do that in here. They do have the symbol on here showing fawns, so there might be cards outside of the game, set up stuff that, panic cards and stuff that recommend them. This is saying tile set number 1 and tile number 1, so we have, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, and then we have up to 6. Other things in here is we're going to have various exits. Now you see that not all of them have an exit on there. We have our cube placements in here. So when you first start, you'll drop in your different colored cubes in there. I'm not going to stay in there because I'm at too much of an angle. We have our various symbols at the top, and we have our alert level. So if you watch the very first video, the overview, one thing that was brought up in the game, which is a really cool aspect, is, and we're going to talk about this with the trick cards as well, but there are a couple of advanced modes that you can eliminate from the game if you want to make the game a little bit easier, or more of a learning game, and you can add them in. Part of it's using less information on the trick cards, not using panic cards or boss cards, some of the more difficult stuff in the game. You can also ignore all the icons outside of the stairs, which you have to use to progress through the game. So you can ignore all the other icons on the board if you don't want to for the first game or two, and just be like, hey, I come in here, all I have to worry about is just my cubes and my alert level for the stealth. So that's definitely something you can do. Now, one thing I wish they added a little bit more of, they do actually have on this cheat sheet in here, is when you're doing your tests, you're studying your stealth tests against the zone, you can gain any number of cubes, but for everything past your first cube, so it says alertness of 2, you add more. So if you want to get a second cube, you have to add +1. So if I wanted the second green one, now my alert level is 3. If I go up to 3 cubes, now it goes up 3. So now it would be a total of 5 to try and get all 3 of these. And it can go up to 6 and 10 based on the number of ones. So the more cubes your scholar tries to take, the more difficult it's going to be. And that's not including if there's a boss in the zone, or if you have a panic card, or you have anything the other players might play against you that might up that. So yeah, adds that interesting idea of it. It's just basically the more you try and steal, the more you're going to have a chance of getting spotted because you're being alerted. So then we have the symbols on the cards. So what do the symbols mean? The stairwell is basically just you have a stairwell, you're going to grab you can start a tile from the next tile. So if like we grab one from the next one, and you can put it next to one of these spots where one of the doors match. Anytime you place tiles, they have to be placed where at least one door matches. So like that door matches there. So now we have these on the bottom. I can't put this on the top. I can't put this on this side because there's no doors that match on there. So like this tile would only be able to match in that one spot, unfortunately. Except the alternate rule is you can do this. So you can match it like that. Now, if for some reason we did, let me just drop this down here quick. If we matched these two like this, if I played a third one, and I matched this zone with this, so one thing we're going to do is we have these little tokens in here that are walls. So if we pop out a wall here, I'm going to put a wall there just to show that, well, there's nothing in that one. It's not a best example there, but if there was a doorway there, let's see if I even just connect these two for some reason. We'll do it that way, because these actually do have one. I connect these two together. There's a passageway here, there's not one there. So you put a wall there, just to know that you can't walk between those two spots. Now, it's not as big of a deal on this, because you can go up or down either way. But it's going to make more of that difference, like, if you connected one of these that worked that way. I don't have any of these that want to connect like that with this particular group of tiles. But yeah, it just shows a block of a doorway. Then we also have the stairwells, which you're going to put in there. So if you had this one going up into another level, then you knew that this went up into that level. And you can kind of tell by the borders, these are grassy borders. These are like stone borders, and like the third ones are kind of like a rocky border, like a cave. So if I'm exploring from this tile, I have to play the green, the level 1s. If I'm exploring from these, I would do the level 2s. And then you can go up and down between the stairwells. So that's just what those are going to do. Brief explanation on those. Alright, so then we have the other symbol on there. Is we have the boss symbol. This is for when if you enter this area, so that's what's cool about these little things. They have little arrows that point in. That means when you enter the tile, you get to do the things. You get add the stairwell, you get encounter a boss. So if you do this, if you're playing with the boss rules, which you could be playing with the other symbols and not playing with the boss, you might ignore this symbol anyhow. But if you are playing with the boss, this will either summon the boss or activate them. Cool. just jumping to the next. We're going to try to keep moving along with some of these. So this one here has a little sack with a number 2 on it. And a little orb. So typically red is bad. Blue is good. So it's kind of the idea like reds are alerts. That's kind of an ongoing theme throughout the game just to kind of help everybody out. So we have danger. So if you get this one, it says, Danger N. A scholar who fails a stealth test in a zone must draw a student from the university bag. So since these have no arrows on, they're passive. So that's just showing your university sack. So if you fail a test, you have to draw from the bag. You're going to add guys to the bonfire, which isn't bad, but you have chances to grab them Omega students, which end towards the end game. Then we also have the little blue orb, which is good luck. It could be bad luck, is depending on which color it is. A scholar performs a stealth test in a zone after generating a stealth skill, performs divination N. See, so that just divination is, I don't have it listed on here. You draw a card from the deck and you add its boost value to your ability. So it just lets you get some extra boost toward your stealth test. So if I already played cards and I had 3 and I had to do a divination and I drew an extra 2 points, I'd have up to 5. But it says, if the number is blue, add the chosen value to the card's stealth value. If it's red, you reduce it. So yeah, this one helps you out. So if you get in there, you could end up beefing up your stats. We have this tile which has a stair, has a boss, and then it has a circle here with arrows going outwards. This means when you leave the area, this happens. This is a secret passage. So we have secret passage. Scholar in the zone spends a movement step to move to a revealed zone that has a secret passage with the same letter. So you get to place secret passages down along the board. So it's going to be secret passage B. Stairs. Trying to see where it has the rules on how a secret passage works. But they don't, of course, have one. So yeah, secret passage is like, so if we go to our set 3s and we go through our tiles, we have secret passage B. So this will actually let you link, if that tile is revealed, you can move in between them. Otherwise, if it's not revealed, it doesn't do anything. But it's a neat way to be able to possibly move around the board really quick. So maybe if you need to like jump from one thing to the other, or somebody else reveals it. So that's pretty cool there. Okay, so then we have that. So alright, let's look at our next one. We have this one. This one has no special effects on it. It just has like 2 entrances at the top and corner. That's not too bad. Again, these are level 1, so not too much. This has Secret Passage A, which is in set number 2. There's Secret Passage A in there. It has a green tent and a divination or bad luck -1. So what do the little tents do? The tents are the Bayuak, which has an action. You can spend an action. Scholar may perform the rest phase without moving to the starting area. It can only be used if you have an information cube of the same color. So as long as you have a green cube, you can just perform a rest action there without having to go all the way back to the starting zone. So again, this could be very helpful. So you don't have, you still have to still do a rest phase. So you're still gonna have to end your turn, but you don't have to go all the way back to the starting zone. So then you don't have to then spend an extra 2 or 3 actions to get back across the board. And again, with the Secret Passage A, that could be helpful to jump between. Hey, I could jump from, take 2 steps into Passage A from tile set number 2, then jumping to here, rest, and I can jump right back into the Secret Passage and go out. So very interesting there. And then our tile number 6 for this one has incoming, and it has a little skull on there. This is an ambush. When a scholar enters the zone, they must sacrifice any students. If they can't do so, they take a stun token. So just, you end up in an ambush, and you have to take out many students, or you're going to get stunned. So yeah, definitely not too bad. It's very interesting tiles. Let's look at set number 2. These are silver ones. And again, like I said, they all have names. If I go into the instruction book, I can see what the names of each one is. But for the purpose of gameplay, it's not going to be a big deal. You're probably not going to be like, oh, I'm moving to the bonfire, I'm moving to this thing. You're probably not going to remember them unless you play them a ton. So this one has if you lose a test, you lose 2 students. You sacrifice them to the fire, I guess. But now you can see we're adding. So if we just look at these, we have reds, greens, we have 1 blue, greens, lots of greens, 1 green, a blue, blues and reds. We have no yellows, no purples. So you can't get any of those, and there's only a couple of blues. Now we're going to add some of the other colors in. We're going to add yellows in there. So this one, of course, you have to sacrifice ambush for 1 student. This has a stairwell in it, boss, what's that one called? Danger. This one has our yellow in there. So here we have a secret passage A, which we saw earlier, plus the yellow tent. It's interesting because one A has a green tent and one has a yellow tent. So depending on what cube you have, you can rest on either side of that. Alright, so this actually adds a new aspect in here. It adds these doors in here with colored little symbols on them. So you cannot enter or exit through one of them doors unless you have a cube of that color. So if you have a green, you could get in here, but if you haven't got a red yet, you can't leave through one of those 2 sides. And unfortunately, what potentially could happen, you could get into this area and someone could steal your cubes or and then leave the area. And you might not have a green or a red. And then maybe if the other 2 have already been collected, you might be forced to do a rest phase and go all the way back. That might be the only way to escape the room. So kind of an interesting thing that could happen there. Then the last one for this is we have a stairwell and a no teleporter. Which says, stop. When a scholar enters a zone, their movement phase stops. Any movement obtained from other effects, the game also gets interrupted. However, scholars use trick cards effects to keep moving. So if you have 3 movement and you move into this, you have to stop in that area. But if you have another card or another way to move, you can play a card to keep moving, to move again. But this one adds our first purple in there. Alright. Then we have our gold ones, which are level 3. So we have the sacrificing stairwell boss. This has a alertness of 6, but yeah, look at some of the difficult stuff on there. This one has a lot of blue in there. It's like a summoning circle. An elder sign, I love that in there. So stop and bad divination in there. This one has some red gates in there to get in and out. Go to this one, has our bee little farm. Nothing else really much in there. Then we have another stop. And then our last one, we have some bad stuff. So pretty cool. And this one has some purple ones in there, so that's kind of interesting as well. This could be a lot harder to get into. It's the treasure room. So those are our different things. Now, we do have some other different icons that will get added in here. For various stuff, you can have token trick cards that might place some more of these in here, like Secret Passage X. You can add new secret passages along the game, some stops. We have this minus cube. We have some defeated enemy cubes. That -1, or dropping a cube, says toll. When a scholar enters the zone, they must pay N. They must drop N cubes. So you might get some of those. These are stun tokens, these are discovery tokens. If we flip these over on the other side, we also have trap tokens on the back side. So trap tokens say, the first scholar enters the zone where this token is presented, turns over the token, suffers an indicated effect, and then the trap is discarded. So the idea is you'll be placing these traps down, so it's this entire top row, and then they might flip over to be either sacrifice a student, pay a toll, or stop right there. So very cool. We also have these little blue icons. We have 3 of them, double-sided. These are stuff that are activated by trick cards. So these are the teleport icons. Scholar may move to any zone, revealing into the dungeon. To activate the teleport, you must possess at least 1 worship information token. So very cool. So you have some extra tokens we can kind of place on the board to add some extra effects to the game, which is really cool. And I'm not going to say there's probably some expansions that add more of them. Alright, so let's look at some of the decks here. First of all, we're going to do a quick look at the randomization deck. So you've seen various cards that will tell you to randomize the game. You'll draw from this deck, and it'll, depending on what you're looking for, will be what you'll do. If it's telling you to draw an information, something with an information cube, you'll pick whatever color is in the middle. So if it says randomly draw a cube, or do something to the cube, give it away, drop it, you'll do whatever cube is in the middle. If it's looking for a player, you'll use whatever colored player symbol there is. Or it might tell you to move a direction, because some of these are facing different directions. Because like we have a yellow up and a yellow down. If it's telling you to, it might say like go this direction, so that's the direction you would go as well. If it's telling you to like move from a zone, we have here it's saying what area you want to move from. So you want to try and move from this one up, or you might have to move right, depending on what the effect is. So yeah, this is basically a neat way for like if there's things that the game wants you to do, it's telling you on one card how to do it instead of having like 14 different cards or having like roll a dice for a rule sheet. So they're pretty simple. So I'm just going to kind of flash through each one. There's a lot of them with green because they're the more common ones. Then they have a couple of the reds. And then we have blues. Some yellows. And some purples. Now, what happens if something on the card doesn't work? Like maybe you can't move from the zone you're trying to move in. You'll just do the next like area that you can go to. I'm trying to see if we have the breakdown of the cards here. I got two different instruction books if you've watched from the first video, so I'm trying to kind of figure that out. So yeah, here we go. A target's a scholar. So you can, the top of their boards, it'll tell you what color they are. So the top of the board, we can see that's the red player. And they're pretty equal, so it's not like you should get, like you have to pick blue player first, then yellow player, then red player, so on and so forth. Direction, if an effect requires a direction, you pick which direction. In case the color triangle is irrelevant, just saying what direction to take. If a effect requests a random passage to a respective zone, determined by the arrow. If that passage not exist, the first available clockwise passage is selected. So once you go down, then left, maybe, and then the information cube. It's just recommended that one player uses it just so you can like keep a track of it very quickly. So that's what that is. Nothing. They're just extra cool little cards for that. Then we have our jinx cards. So sometimes bad things will happen. You get stunned and you might grab a jinx card. So these are basically bad things that are going to affect you. If you don't get rid of them, you're going to get negative points at the end of the game. They don't typically probably do, they might do extra stuff during the game. They might only have end of the game. The bottom is how many points you suffer at the end of the game. So if you have 3 of them, you need to do 3 rest steps, which is basically 3 turns to get rid of all 3 of them. So you kind of got to keep in mind of that because it could affect your game points at the end of the game. So we have Tone Deaf Bard. A loud Nofty bard decides to follow you in composing ode about your accomplishments. I'm guessing this is a reference to The Witcher. As long as you have this card, before you perform any stealth test, draw a trick card and adds bonus to the alert value. The Vow of Generosity. I'm going to not read the reference up there. You guys can read that. It says, as long as you have this card, a scholar present in your zone can demand gifts as an action. If they do, you must give them an information cube to them. Amnesia, as long as you have this skill. As long as you have this card, use all skills printed on your scholar card. Argument with the Dean. As long as you have this card, do not make use of the auxiliary effects of trick cards. So on the trick cards, we have the modified value, we have the main effect, and we have the auxiliary card on the bottom. Underground Psychosis. As long as you have this card, you can use effects that force you to sacrifice students, but only if you have an addition. But only if you sacrifice an additional one. So you have to sacrifice 2 every time. Vow and Sincerity. As long as you have this card, you can't play trick cards to raise an alert value, so you can't essentially hurt other players. The Sneeze Curse. As long as you have this before you perform a stealth, you must discard a trick card. Notes on Fire, just 5 points at the end of the game, which is pretty hefty. Assassin's Target. The first time you resolve this card, all of your students must be moved to the reserve. As long as you have this card, whenever you have more than one student, put all students except one in the reserve. Schematic Charm. As long as you have this, your hand value is 2, ignoring any modifiers. Depressed. As long as if you're exalted, return to the standard state. As long as you have this, you cannot become exalted because you're depressed. That's kind of crazy. Poisonous Mushroom. As long as you have this, your intelligence is 1. So you can only grab 1 cube at a time. Laced Wine. As long as you have this, any espionage action gains a +4 bonus to stealth, and you cannot perform espionage actions. Any espionage action against you gains a +4 bonus. So they have a better chance of stealing from you. You cannot steal from them. Gotcha. Screaming Candy. As long as you have this, when you draw a single student from the university bag, for any reason, draw an additional one. And then the last one is Crippled. As long as you have this, your speed modifiers by 1. So that's kind of great. It's kind of neat. Again, extra game effect. You get stunned too many times or something. Boss hits you, could get a Jinx card. It's just going to reduce your effectiveness of the game. So basically, you want to go get rid of it. Sometimes you have to debate. Is it worth sacrificing a turn to get rid of this, or is this something I can work around? Oh, I have to sacrifice an extra student. Meh, I can get around that. I don't sacrifice too often. But if you're sacrificing a bunch, it might not be worth it. Oh, I have 1 less cube I can grab. I can get 1 or 2 more cubes, 1 at a time, or whatever. For right now, that's not that big of a deal. But maybe you can't. Can you afford having a -1 modifier? But you should probably get rid of them for the point values at least. Alright. Then our next small cards we have are our interns. Now these are going to tie in to some of the trick cards we're going to look at, but we're going to look at the interns do first. So we have a Bard. And what do the interns and the Bards do? They're going to, well, not the Bards specifically, but your task information cubes are protected. So interns are going to be a little extra ally, basically better students you can get. But they don't represent actual cubes. Our improved students, some trick cards allow a scholar to gain interns. When a scholar plays one of these, they will gain corresponding intern and their card. So they gain an in-bone effect and a gain. So some of them are going to have extra point values at the top, so they're like the opposite of Jinx cards, and some will give you extra bonuses. Zoom a little bit. Once a scholar acquires an intern card, they keep it close to their noteboard. As long as they are the owner of this, they gain the benefits indicated as well as the end game bonus. So it's after you submitted your thesis, you gain this extra additional bonus. Scholars, however, must pay attention to the loyalty of their interns. There's only a single copy of each intern. The first scholar who plays the related trick card gains it. However, scholars with the same trick card during the game will steal it from the current owner. Some of them have the protected information cubes. The colored shields on intern cards indicate specific information cubes owned by the scholar are protected. If the protected information is targeted by an affected forcing her to lose it, randomly or not, the owner decides whether to lose it or not. Protection is not applied to giving information. See above. Protected information cubes can be donated voluntarily. So basically, if something says lose a cube or drop a cube, you can decide not to do it. So kind of just showing there. Loses after removal through any means. It can be stolen, eliminated, or lost in other ways. Information cube lost from a scholar's notebook are removed from the top of the column. Drop indicates the act of selecting a cube from one's noteboard and placing it in the zone where the scholar is located. This cube must be placed in a zone slot that does not contain any information cubes from the rightmost. It is worth noting the cubes placed in the order by chosen scholars to drop in are not necessarily the color that corresponds with the empty slots. If there are no empty slots for the cube, this cube must be placed in empty slots of linked zones with no available slots. The cube is eliminated. So that's basically saying if your spot was originally like the open holes were, like we looked on this one, were red, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, and let's say you've already gotten the red and the yellow one, and then you have to drop a blue cube. You just drop it in the first spot that's open. Doesn't matter what the color's in afterwards. And then we had give. Give refers back to moving information cube from the top of the column to a choice of your noteboard to that of another player. Is not considered to be lost. If the column in which the information should be placed receiving color is complete, that cube is eliminated. So yeah, you might have a card that tells you to give them. You're just basically taking it off of their board, putting it on yours. Protected. Even if Mario has all his cubes are protected, he would not be allowed to give cubes to Sophia, as protection only applies to losing information. So if they tell you you have to give them something, you still have to give them. It's just preventing you from losing them and dropping them on the board. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at this. We have Animal Companion, which has a down arrow and a stealth. Why do I not have this symbol where it should be? Sorry for this. I'm trying to find that. I thought there was a page that showed what all of these symbols did. Alright, so the symbol is a study bonus. The number of the wheel is set to 0 at the beginning of the game. It can be turned to reveal blue numbers. These are bonuses added to the scholar's stealth value of performing a study action. So on your little board here, you're going to start at 0. And then you're going to do is, if you get the stealth bonus, you're going to turn this down. You can gain +1, 2, 3. So it's just a way to like help gain extra bonuses up till it's like a 7. By gaining cards like this. So he'll get you extra stealth bonus. Some of your trick cards will also do that as well. So that's kind of cool. We have this guy, which has Scholar gets to move any number of zones. So he gets +1 extra movement. The guard is going to protect your militia cubes, your red ones. The architect, your civilization cubes are protected. The secretary, your riches are protected. Also note that some of these guys, right, have +1, +2, and 0, depending on which one, so they're not all the same. Deputy, when you gain a single student, take another from the bonfire if available, so you get extra students to help you. The deacon, your worship information cubes are protected. The apprentice, which is going to give you a bonus for being able to take cubes, your intelligence. And then we have the spy. Add to your stealth value when you perform the espionage action. So very cool. So we get these extra little characters. There are, again, some more of these located in the expansions and Kickstarter stuff as well. Alright. Then the last thing we have to go over for the game is we have our trick cards. So trick cards are divided into several, I don't know if you'd call them schools, or themings. I'm not sure what the exact terminology is, but there are 6 different ones. There are exploration. Let me zoom back out here, which is going to usually have a bonus on here, which helps you for your speed. We're going to have subterfuge, which is going to have stuff for stealth, either upping your stealth or messing with the alertness levels. Magic, which is probably going to let you draw extra cards, it looks like, with the divination. Notoriety, which is going to let you get extra students quicker. And then we have social, which will let you draw extra cards here so you can do more stuff. They have various other effects as well. And then the last one are just kind of like extra bonus ones. Just don't have a regular effect, but they have really high bonus values in them, 4s and 5s. Otherwise, all the rest of them only have 1 through 3. So while we're playing with the cards, we have a couple of different things on here. We have our bonuses we get to add. So there's lots of stuff when you're taking your tests or you're checking for things. You'll have you draw and you'll look at the top card or the corner, or play a card. It'll tell you the bonus you're going to add, your stealth or your espionage, or various tests. the cautious pace. On the bottom, we have the auxiliary effect. This is the other option you can do during your turn. You can play it for this. Now, you have the ability during the game, as an advanced rule, to not play with the middle of the card. So every card can basically be, I have a simple icon action I can do, or I have my boost value. And those are the two things you pay into. Then if you want to, you can add the additional effect to do all the stuff in the middle. Which is a really neat way to play the game, because we're still learning the mechanics on how to do the stealth testing and do all that stuff. Ignoring all these extra additional card effects can, I think, be really beneficial. And the fact is, you can go back and forth at any time. Not maybe during the game, but like you can play one game with it, or you play another game with somebody else that's maybe new, you can take it out. So very, very easy to figure out. So then in the middle of the cards, then, we have how to pay for it. So like this one's going to say, for example, I'm going to move some of these out of my way quick, sorry. It's going to say either defeat a student, sacrifice a student, or draw a student from the bag. So you pull one student out of the bag, so you grab, one of these guys out. If you get a gray one, goes to the bonfire or the reserve if that's full, but you might draw a red one. So it's always kind of, interesting to do. So as for the rest of your turn, you do not activate the indicated zone effects and trap tokens unless desired. So basically, this means you can go through and activate this by sacrificing or drawing a thing from there, by paying that effect, but you might end up, but you don't have to worry about any of the effects on the board. So again, this only is going to matter if you're playing with the effects on the board. If you're not playing with the effects of the board, then this card really doesn't do a whole lot for you. Because the way the game was originally designed was you're just supposed to use everything, and then the Kickstarter came out and they basically edited the rules that advance. Now there is a page in here as well, in this Kickstarter one, which again you can download from the website, which kind of goes through all the different icons. So green are generally good, yellow is a danger, so it's not necessarily bad because you're adding the students, but it could be bad. Red are generally bad because you're getting stunned, discarding, sacrificing. Black are stealth. And then these two are just different timing effects. And then it has a list of all the different auxiliary effects of the game, so if you want a better idea of what each one does. So for example, we have on the exploration, we have exploration 1, 2, and 3. Play your movement phase or action phase, you get +1 speed point, get +2, or you get +3, or draw a student from the bag and then get +3 movement. So, yeah, so that's how those are all going to go, so I'm not going to have to keep reading each one of those each time. Alright, we have Hunter's Trap. And I'm not going to read the icons, you can kind of read them, so it's either sacrifice or draw an N number. During your movement phase, you may place N covered trap tokens of your choice in the zones where you start, pass through, or stop. A zone may contain a maximum number of 1 trap. So here you can basically decide how many tokens do I want to play, and then you can move around the board. During your movement step, you can decide how many tokens you want to place by paying ahead of time. We have false instructions. I promise you that's where they kept the treasure. Move another scholar or a boss up to 2 zones. A scholar move this way activates zone effects. Normally, a boss move this way does not activate activations or counter effects of his boss card. Cautious pace. For the rest of your turn, do not activate indicated zones unless the trap token is desired. So we already saw that. So I think there's just some of these cards are repeated. I didn't notice this, otherwise I would have definitely sorted some of these out. So you have another Hunter's Trap, false instructions, and then another cautious pace, Hunter's Trap, false. So 3 of each of those. I think there's, yeah, three of each of the common cards, which are the 1s. There's 2 of each of the silver cards, which are level 2s. So we have Survival Expert, Expert Survivalist, Prepare a Student for the Life in the Wild, Sacrifice them and draw. Gain or steal the Intern Survivalist, which gets you the +1. And then they have the 2 on the bottom there. And then we have 2 of the Train Guards. So this lets you steal the guard card. And then we have 2 of the secret passages. Place a card before your movement phase. Skip your movement phase and move to any other zone in the same area. Place the secret passage token in the starting zone and the desired zones. You add the secret passage tokens. Then for the level 3s, we only have 1 of each. Makeshift camp. Discard a Jinx card. Discard all your stun tokens. Draw a trick card so you have the value in hand. Gain student from the bonfire or the reserve. It can reach your student value if you have less. It's basically your rest phase, but you don't have to go all the way back or find a specific zone. We have bold move, action. Collect 2 information cubes from the zone you are in or from an adjacent zone. But again, you have to draw 3 things from the bags. It's always that risk reward. You might end up just drawing 3 regular guys, but you might. And the thing is, you can kind of keep an eye. If you know there's 12 in the bag, and you can kind of look around and be like, oh, we've already drawn 9 of them. So there's only 3 left in there and the red one. You draw this, your chances of not getting the red one are pretty slim. But if you do this early on, like right after the bag is being refreshed, probably not as big of a risk. The last one's Animal Companion. Steal the Animal Companion in turn. Cool. So that is that one. Let's take a look at the next group. I'm going to just do these in order. We have the Subterfuge. So this is going to have, some of these have the quick icon attack, means you can use them during your opponent's turn. So Subterfuge, I hate that word. 1, 2, and 3. It says, play during a stealth test, you or your opponents to increase the scholar's stealth value or alert level of a zone by 1. For 2, take a like Subterfuge 1, but instead increase the values by 2. To raise the alert level, you must draw a student. And the 3 is same, except you increase it by 3. So basically, you can either increase yours, which is blue, positive, or you can increase the alert value of an opponent, which is the plus. The red, which is why it's bad. So I love the icons on there because it really makes it easy. Again, if you don't want to play at the middle text, just having the icons is really nice. You don't have to necessarily always. You do have a little cheat sheet here. It kind of helps you remember all this stuff. But yeah, once you play a little bit, you can kind of be like, oh, I get what that does. So like the other ones, there's 3 copies of each of these. So you sacrifice N student, your stealth value goes up by N. So the more you can choose to sacrifice. We have Pursuit. Move to another scholar's position in your same area. Kind of helpful for if you want to steal stuff. And Tactical Placement. Give up to 3 of your information cubes to scholars in your same zone or any linked zones. Give up to 3. Why would you want to give them your cubes? It's tactical placement, so there's probably some reasoning for this. Might be maybe you don't need them cubes for some reason, or like that has a penalty on it. Maybe you're just trying to get rid of them so you can steal some of theirs. Interesting. Alright, then we have 2 copies of Quick Swap. Action, steal a randomized information cube from a scholar in your zone. If the randomization results in civilization, steal another randomized information cube of a scholar in the same zone. So there's maybe one reason. You give them a civilization, then possibly you get one of their better ones. If you happen to get your civilization back, the green one, you get an additional one as well. But then you have to then draw 2 things from the bag. We have Light Fingered, so 2 of these. Randomize for each scholar in the same area or adjacent linked zones. If the result is malicious, steal 1 randomized cube from that scholar. And Dark Ways, with 2 of those. This turn, you can move between adjacent zones even if they're not linked, or you would normally be blocked by you. Cool. So 1 of each of the level 3s. We have Shadow. Place before your movement phase. During this movement phase, once per step, you can either collect 1 information cube from the zone you enter, or steal 1 randomized information cube from a scholar in the zone you enter. During this turn, you can move at most 3 times after the movement phase. Go to the end of turn phase. Blow from behind. Steal 1 information cube of your choice from a scholar present in your zone. And then the last one is train the spy to the spy in turn. So cool. Those are very neat. Alright, then we have the magic ones. So the magic have the little divination on the bottom. Now this part is quick action if you want to do it. So divination says play during a stealth test, yours or your opponent's reveal the first trick card of the deck adds bonus value to the scholar's stealth value or the alert zone. So like for this one, you can add specifically, I can choose, I know I'm going to add 1, 2, or 3, depending on what effect I have. Divination, you're doing a random one. You don't know which one you're going to end up doing, but you could do it for either side as well. So like this one, I know I'm always only going to get 1. I'm always only going to get 2. With this, I could get a 1, 2, or 3. And then like these ones, now you're drawing 2 cards. So I could get either 2 by drawing 2 1 cards, or I could potentially get 4 by drawing 2 2 cards, or I could get up to 6 by drawing 2 3 cards if you get super lucky. So yeah, divination kind of has it's like compared to subterfuge, it's that back and forth of it. Do you want a guarantee to know what you're doing every time, or do you want potential for higher, but you can't be for sure you're going to get something lower? Alright, so here we have a bump. Play for your movement phase. It's just big BAMP for Nightcrawler's teleportation. Skip your movement phase and move to any place zone in your same area. Place a teleport token in the starting zone. Invisibilius. Action, collect 1 information cube from a zone you're in, or steal 1 randomized information cube from 1 scholar in the zone. And then the equal exchange. Ooh, we got some Full Metal Alchemy in here. Choose 1 information cube on any noteboard and then swap 1 from the reserve as follows. So you can turn a green to a red, or a red to a green, then a red to a blue, or a blue, and then a blue to a red, or a yellow to a blue and yellow swatch them out. So you can do one of the 3. Very interesting. Alright, so our level 2s, we have 2 copies of. We have Snoramus. Stealth test, succeed this stealth test. So basically you're doing 2 and then getting a stun. So it does say you have to take a stun token to do this. But if you get a free stealth test, that's not too bad. The love potion. Collect 1 information cube from the zone you're in. Each scholar in that zone must give you 1 information cube. Draw students from the bag equal to the number of cubes received. So, +1. So, bare minimum, at least 2, most likely, because you're going to probably draw 1 cube. But you could end up doing a lot more. So, again, I could get a lot of cubes, but you might risk drawing them omegas. Then we have nominate an apprentice. Gain or steal the apprentice in turn. Our level 3s are Tempo Maximus, 2.1 gigawatts. Get back to the feature reference. After this turn, take another turn. At the end of the second turn, you are max stunned. Kinda cool. Declassification. Until the end of your turn, when you collect information cubes from the zone, you can choose which to collect as opposed to the first available. And the last one is Chronomy, probably short for Chronomancy. Until the end of the turn, you may only play trick cards. Time and space I recommend until the end of the turn. So I think some of these is also like, why is drawing bad? Like something like this is like, why would you only want to play trick cards and not be able to do anything else? So that other one, like I said, give the other players cubes. Why are some of these you want to do is maybe drawing guys from the bag? It's not always a bad thing either. It's a danger thing. You might draw the Omega, but maybe you are 1 point away from doing it, or you're getting closer when you could do your thesis. Like, before I do it, let me try and draw the game to the end quicker before I leave, right? You might be messing up the other place. Or maybe there's no students at the bonfire, right? so you don't have students to go gather during your rest phase. So you might need to just draw some stuff, otherwise you don't have students in. So sometimes it's just a negative effect because you need to draw some of those. And that's just what that is. Alright, so up next we have a notoriety, which is going to have notoriety. Play during your movement phase or action phase to gain 1 student from taking the campus bonfire if available. And then take 2, or draw 1 student and place it in the bonfire, then gain 3 students. So gaining extra students with this card is super helpful. But again, if there's nothing at the bonfire or the reserves, you have to draw stuff from the you need to draw more cards to get them. So one thing will happen. So you have research grant. Promises salary appeals to the PhD student. So either kill a student or draw from the bag to get 3 extra ones. We have really famous. Steal 1 student from a scholar in your zone or any adjacent linked zones up to a maximum of 3. And then we have employ an architect. Hire the architect intern. For level 2s, we have financiers. Draw trick cards until you fill your hand. Then you gain a stun token. Appoint deacon. So you're going to gain the deacon. And then nominate a deputy. Steal the deputy or gain him. Gets more students. Alright, our level 3s, we have hire a secretary. Get the secretary. You don't know who I am? My lawyer will send you the bill. So this actually has a counter on there, so you can use a counter effect. Possesses icon, can be played anytime in response to effect of another trick card. So you can use that to actually bounce off of other people. Cancel the effect of a trick card that has just been played to activate its main auxiliary effect. So you can't do it for a boost, just the other 2. Steal a randomized information cube from a scholar who played that card. And then promote to Bard. So you get the Bard intern. Our last major group is the social one. So social is going to be draw a trick card from the deck, sacrifice a student to draw 2, or sacrifice a student to draw 2, or discard, or have an opponent discard a trick card. You can play this even during your opponent's turn. So the third one has a little extra ability. We have Do Me a Favor. Lets you get extra cards. So this is just a different way. If you have these, you can get these as opposed to, like, you can get students, you can draw trick cards and stuff by going to the rest step. These are other ways to do it without having to keep going back to the rest area. Exchange of ideas. Exchange one of your information cubes, your choice, with a randomized cube from a possessed by a scholar in your zone. And then a friendly deck. Scholar in your zone or an adjacent linked zone must give you an information cube they have collected during this turn and a studied action. For level 2s, we have Old Friend. Choose a player until the end of your next turn. They may not play trick cards. Help. Action, collect a number of information cubes from the zone you're in based on the results of randomization. So if it's green or red, you get 1. Blue or yellow, you get 2, or purple, you get 3. And you have to draw 1, draw from the bag 1 plus each one you get. So now it's not if you get the purple, you get 3 purple cubes. It's if you grab the purple icon, you do the randomization. Then we get the yellow one, you get 2 information cubes, from the zone you were in. So it's wherever the 2 that are available. And then you have to draw 3 students. We have a whiner. Each scholar in the same zone as you are in adjacent or linked zones randomizes. If the result is either riches or cascade, the scholar must give you one of their cubes. And then for level 3, we have blackmail. The active scholar must either give you 2 information cubes or skip to their end phase. So down here it's saying quick, you can either sacrifice a student to draw 2 cards, or you can force someone else to discard a trick card. Yeah, you thought about it, but it's a no-go. Cancel the effects of a trick card that have just been played to activate the effects or main effect or auxiliary. And the last one is Hangover, which is cancel the effect of a trick card that's been played for its active or auxiliary effect unless the scholar who played takes a stun token up to the maximum they can have. Awesome. Alright, so then the last couple of cards we have are kind of like the generic bonus ones. So these are called fake cards. So we have Fate 4 and 5. Play during a stealth test. Yours and your opponents to increase the scholar's stealth value by 4 or 5. First, draw one student and place it on the campus bonfire. Or on the other one, it says to increase the alert value on them by 4 or 5. Draw 2 students and place them at the campus bonfire. So basically saying on the top, you can draw student and you can add 4. Or you can draw 2 students to add 4 alert. And then this is a 4 modifier. Like the other bonuses all only have 1, 2, or 3, so this could get you a 4. So if you have any like divination cards too, you can end up drawing a 4 or 5, and you could get that bonus as well. And we have 10 of those. They're all going to do that. And then we have 5 of the 5 ones, which, 1 for 5 or 2 for 5. So these guys are really powerful. They don't have any extra bonus effects on them that you can do, but they're really great for either getting skills or hurting your opponents. So very cool there. Alright, that is what we have for Dungeonology. So the last thing I want to look at before we end the Dungeonology core set is just kind of take a look at the box itself. So we have our rule book. I kind of put everything back in here, but it's kind of nice to sometimes see what the full thing looks like. Now, one thing I wish every board game would do when you have components is say, hey, here's a picture of, here's like a page or 2 spread that says this is where you want this and this and this. Because sometimes it's very obvious, sometimes it's not. And then you're trying to figure out how to get stuff in there. So yeah, we have this little cover thing that'll help hold everything in there. A little cool Dungeonology transparent thing. We have our campsite. We have our note cards here. Now, I did flip one way, one the other. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference because this being sunk in kind of helps it, but there's just going to be these little extra pieces. I kind of thought if they sat in there, it might help a little bit, but they do kind of still stick out a little bit extra. So in this one, I just put all my university guys. I have all my students in the bag here. I don't know if you can see in there or not. Now, the thing is, and this is what I kind of mean, is there's a gap down here, has like a spot here and a spot here. It's just like you can put cards. I don't know what cards you're supposed to put there. It is big enough for a deck of cards here. So I could put a bunch of cards down here, could put certain cards down there. If I want to, could put something down here. These aren't really big enough for that. So I'm not really entirely sure what the 2 different areas are for. Maybe you just want to pull your non-trick cards out and stick them down there so you can find your other characters quicker. Maybe that's the idea of it. In this entire spot here, I just have the trick cards. That's all I have. Now, you could argue you could put all them here as well, but because there's nothing on the side to hold them in, they're just going to immediately flip right over there. So that's why I wouldn't put all of those over there. But you're also going to notice there's not enough room to sleeve your cards and put them in there. I know some people, me personally, I love to sleeve all my cards when I play games, especially stuff that has to be shuffled a lot. So yeah, there's nothing in there. So if you want to sleeve these, they're not going to fit in here. This is all the small cards. And here's also the thing I have an issue with some of these things is you have a well in here to pick this stuff up, but how do I get these bottom cards out easily? Like now I'm starting to have to dig at them with my fingers, my fingernails. I don't like having to do that. That's why I sleeve my cards. Because there's nothing that goes all the way down. There's no divots or anything. So that's one thing I don't like about that. Like either your thing has to go all the way down so I can get my finger out or something like that. Or you need to have like a little divot in there so you can pop them out. But this is also kind of another thing I'm not really a huge fan of. is that I just dump all the cards in there, so now I have to pull all of these out every time. You'd have to do it anyhow, probably, but, again, it would have been, I don't know if it would make sense to have 3 separate things, but it would have almost been cool if you could have a thing divided, like, this direction. Like, it's still sitting that low, but I get it. It's someone designing the box. How can we cram as much in there as possible without having it be another inch taller? Because if you needed this space here for all the boards, then having this high means that's how much higher you have to make the box. We have our tokens in there. Again, they're all just kind of mixed together. Not necessarily a bad thing in general, but because again, you could decide, hey, I'm not playing with the effects. You wouldn't have to use any of the green ones. You just have to grab these. But, and this is, again, a very minor nitpick on my end, is, and this is most board games. I'm not picking this one, not trying to fault this one itself, but most board games, they don't design it well for you. Basically, they want you to open up the game. You have to take every single component out, find stacks on the table. I wish more games would have things where I would have a way of, like, pulling a little tray out for just my tokens, right? Like, even if this entire section here is a tray that I could pull out, cool, here's all my cubes, here's all my tokens. I can set that off to the side, use them when I need them, and not have to, like, dump the entire box out. Now, I do want to give credit to Lucas Magnet Studios. This game was one of their earlier games that came out, like, they've had a couple out, but when they did the revised Black Rose Wars, that's exactly what they did with all their tokens. They made little things you could pop them out for each player. This is player A's stuff, this is player B's, and that's an awesome thing to do. Here we have all of our tiles. They just all sit in there. On the very bottom, we have our tarot cards. Oversized tarot cards. So they'll just kind of slide right in there. Does have the lips. I can get right all the way in there, so it's nice on that because it's shallow enough. But again, you won't be able to sleeve those. Which those you don't really have to sleeve because you're not shuffling them. They just kind of sit there. I usually sleeve everything. You have all these, which should probably just be dumped out in here. Which I also have the stair tokens in there as well, because the stairs wouldn't really fit in here. So it's kind of a bummer on that fact. Again, they could have been cool if they had a divider. But yeah, just these I just dumped out. Now I suppose I could try and lay these down, and I could lay these down in here and have these in here. That's also another option. And then have this open for whatever else I want it for. Maybe drop the Omega students in there if you don't need them. Those are always a couple of different options, but that leads me back to my first point where I said it would be nice if they explained how they wanted everything back in the box. The miniatures have nice little spots. They kind of snap in a little bit. Not like super well, but they do kind of snap in. Just enough to kind of help hold them in there. And then, yeah, just have reference cards, throw them back on top. Put your 4 boards in here. Which, again, they kind of stick up over the top of it. Throw the tamp board on there, but this will kind of help hold everything down. And there's still a little bit of room in there. It's a little puffy, but that's not a big deal because you'll throw the book on top. Throw our box on there. And boom, there we go. So, like this, like most other games, you start buying all the expansions. So there's a big giant box for Kickstarter stuff. There's like 3 or 4 other expansions which add more bosses, more scholars to play as, some of the other school or trick card decks to play as, more interns, more panic cards, pretty much more of everything in the game. Some more different tiles that are used for different things. Some are compatible, some aren't. There's like a level 4. There's some that are like their own brand new areas. So kind of cool stuff there. But there's no full like most games, and again, not faulting this company, even though I'm talking about it in this video. Most games, when you start adding all this stuff, there's no way to like have everything together in one big box. It's unfortunate. I do wish more game companies, when they know they're going to release 6 expansions, they would have a box for some way for someone to buy that. Or to put everything in there. But I do kind of get it, because if you have someone that buys a core game and one expansion, they're gonna be like, well, I don't need that big box. Can you make a box that only does enough for one expansion? So I do wish there were ways for games to have modular storage expansion boxes. Kind of like, I have this, I can add this much stuff if I want to. If I don't, I don't. Even something like this is just. And if you guys want to leave, I'm gonna rant for a minute. Go ahead. Thanks for watching the video. But something like this would be kind of neat, where if you had a storage box, like rather than having one, I know some people want one giant ass storage box. I wouldn't actually personally. I would rather have a box for the scholars. Like, right, I have a box that can hold all the scholars, in there, and then then I have a box for like the bosses. And then maybe it's designating a way you could have like trays in there or something. So it's like, oh, if I, maybe it's a thicker box. It's like, if I only own the base set if I only own the base set, I have this box. I don't give a crap. But if I own like this in like one expansion, I have enough room in the one tray for like one tray is gonna have room for like all of my different guides. So if I own it, every time I buy a new expansion, I have a spot to put each new guide in. Cool. And I get the bosses, I can do them as well. And that'd just be a neat way to be like, okay, I have one tray for that. I have all the boss cards, all the scholar cards, the boards. That's my box. I open up the box, I take out beginning of the game, take out my scholars, take out my bosses who I'm playing as, close the box, put it back off to the side. Then you have another box that has like spaces in there for, here's all the trick decks, here's these decks, here's these decks, here's these decks, here's this. So it's like, oh, if I'm only going to use, if there ends up being, there's only 6 trick decks in the core game, cool. But if there ends up being a total of like 8, but you're only supposed to use 6 at a time, or if there's like 10, I'm only supposed to use 6 at a time, I can pick which ones I want out of there. And then again, have like the little trays for like, oh, here's my tray for my, my knockout tokens. Here's a tray for my blocks and my stairwells and stuff. Even if that's like one big giant tray that you pull out. Okay, I open up that box, I take out my trick deck, set them aside, take out my jinx, my interns, whatever else I'm using. I'm done with my panic cards, close the box back up, set it off to the side. I have like 3 trays on my game. I think that's a really cool idea. I've seen other games kind of try and do big boxes like that, but I get the whole, like, Maximum Vendetta did that. But the only problem or not Maximum Vendetta, it's Maximum Chrome is the name of the box. It's, Vendetta racing game. But I get the idea of it's like, if someone's like, I don't own everything, then you're making a box for space that people might not be using. And it's the difference between just someone buying an expansion with one core game, or do you make the box for just this and just like the 3 retail expansions, but then someone that buys the Kickstarter doesn't have that, they have to buy a different box. You could potentially make a box in the Kickstarter that holds all that, does all that stuff. Like, here's a big box, and you're getting the Kickstarter, we're assuming you're buying everything, and you'll have all that stuff, and then make a separate one for the non-Kickstarter stuff. And the only downside that ends up ever being there is if someone picks up the Kickstarter stuff later and didn't get that special storage box, then that's kind of on them. Alright, anywho, enough ranting about that. This is Dungeonology. Come back, check out all the cool expansions, as well as Kickstarter, see all the fun new stuff in there. See you guys later. Bye.